All right, so here we are over at the ironing board, and this is the first of our strips. This strip is wide enough that we're only going to get 1 2.5 inch strip out of this piece, and we'll have a little bit of leftovers to go in the schnitzel bin to be used as stuffing, but for the most part, this is a good usable piece that we've just made out of scraps that would linger forever. Now, the proper way to iron in quilting is at every seam, you turn over the fabric and you press to the dark, and then when you sew the next seam, you press to the dark, and then when you sew the next seam, you press to the dark. This is scrap quilting. I want to get this fabric out of my sewing room as fast as possible so I can go back to making quilts out of the patterns that I bought and that I love. And I don't dislike this, but it's just use it up. And I apologize for the wiggle here. I've got the camera clamped onto my to my ironing board. But you'll notice, hopefully you'll notice if you don't get seasick, when I'm ironing a piece like this from the front, in proper quilting form, I stretch it out, I take the iron, and I anchor the end, and then I wiggle my way down, keeping it under tension the whole way. And what that does is it allows you to simply smash the back down. It looks nice from the front, and if you turn around, you can see that some of the seams go every which way. Don't care, it's a scrap quilt. We're doing this fast and fun and getting these scraps out of the sewing room so that we can make primary quilts and make more scraps. Shh, let's not talk about the fact that it's a vicious cycle. So as I work towards the larger and larger pieces, you'll notice that the anchoring starts to be vertical rather than horizontal, and the wiggle becomes vertical, and I sort of sweep the whole iron around. Now, I didn't get the bottom of this because it doesn't all fit, but we're just smashing it flat. Ooh, that was bad. Smashing it flat and smoothing it out. Bend the fabric to your will. Neatness is sort of a byproduct of your experience as a quilter. This is not something that you should be agonizing over in a scrap quilt like this. We're just going to use it up and just keep working till we're out of fabric. If you've got something like a wrinkle release spray and these scraps have been lingering in your scrap bin for a while, you may need it. These have been flat because I've stored them with my scrap stash stick system, and so they're just ready to pick up and use, which is precisely what we're doing today. And this has already been pressed, but it was back in March, which is more than 6 months ago. So I'm just going to give it a quick touch of the iron. Okay, so here we have a cutout. So chances are what'll happen, we'll get somewhere down here and cut, and then I'll have these two pieces. Whoops, you'd like to see all of that. Okay, down here we've got a cutout where this is not filled in. So as we're cross-cutting this into 2.5 inch strips, eventually when we get to that point, we're going to have this little tail over here, which can then get added back to one of the medium length strings. Quick iron, and that way you're using up all of your fabric. So that being said, when we go over to the cutting table, we're going to start with the larger pieces and work our way down. So larger being a longer piece that you can cross-cut more sections out of, not length in this direction. Length in that direction across the stripes doesn't matter. Here's another one. As we're trimming this one up, we're going to end up with some tails, and we'll just add this to another piece. Excuse me.